Hey, community groups, welcome. So good to see that you guys are meeting today. Now we're talking today about the sin that we accept called anger, and everybody loves anger. Actually, I hope that you don't. Now, the reality, right, is that we learned this week is that anger is not just an emotional reaction to things. It actually, it affects so much more of our lives than we initially think. It will affect our thoughts. It will affect our actions as much as it affects our hearts. And so I look at James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20 to really give us some clarity on what is wrong with our human anger. And he says it this way. He says, "My dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For human anger does not accomplish God's righteousness." And I think the distinction there is very clear. It's human anger. It's human anger that is the result of human thought processes that is obviously going to be marred by the presence of sin in our world. We lack the ability to see the world clearly. We lack the ability to see it through the redemptive lens that Jesus has as a whole, to see the whole world and all time, all events through that lens. And what tends to happen is when we get angry, we tend to want to justify our anger by thinking that it serves some righteous cause. Like I've done that personally. I've seen Jesus in the scriptures flipping tables, and I say, well, if Jesus was so fired up with righteous anger that he flipped tables, then why can't I? And Jesus did, and we know that. But Jesus' anger was not a human anger. It was a righteous anger. There was still a redemptive purpose in there. And even as I look through the Old Testament, I see that the anger that God would have to the outbreak of sin in the world was just that. It was a response of his holiness, of his righteousness to the outbreaking sin. It wasn't just that he was fired up and fueled with emotion. It's that he desired things to be made right, but he was constantly working with a stiff-necked people. You see, community groups, I pray that as you talk through the sin that we accept of anger, that you would be able to evaluate your own emotions in light of the cross. And I pray that you would also look at your life and allow God to do some transformative work in there to position you to be a major impact in the community around you. Because the reality is as we come into these places, acknowledging that there are sins that we accept, we don't just acknowledge them and succumb to them, but we lay these things at the foot of the cross and experience the transformation that Jesus wants to offer us. I wholeheartedly believe that God wants to do amazing things through you and your group. And I pray that as you have these discussions, you would continue to stay committed to what our values are, that we want to fight sin together, even the sins that we accept. Sometimes that means having hard conversations and bringing things up that nobody wants to talk about. But ultimately, we know that at the end of the day, our desire is not to just expose sin in the person sitting across the table or the screen, but it's to expose the sin so that we can experience redemption in Jesus. Community groups, you guys are a blessing, and I pray that you guys have an amazing, amazing community group. We'll see you guys next week.